The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. 17 beings sat around a circular table, each one from a different world. They were the most powerful group in the galaxy, making rules for over 300 planets. Today, they talked about Earth. "Humans are advancing too quickly," said Zixtera, the council leader. His blue skin glowed as he showed images of Earth cities, rockets, and weapons. In the last 100 years, they went from horse carts to space travel. Their technology grows faster than any species we have seen before. Murmurs filled the room. The council members watched videos of human wars, pollution, and destroyed forests. "They fight among themselves constantly," said Vrel, a tall, thin being with 4 arms. "Imagine what they will do when they can reach other worlds." "They use too many resources," added Dorn, who looked like a large rock with eyes. "One human uses more energy than 10 beings from most worlds." For 6 hours, they debated. Some said humans should be left alone. Others wanted to destroy Earth completely. In the end, they voted on what to do. "The vote is 15 in favor, 2 against," announced Zixtera. "We will implement Protocol 37B for Earth." Protocol 37B was their plan for controlling dangerous species. They had used it 3 times before on other worlds. It always worked. "Who dares to vote against the majority?" asked Vrel, looking around the table. 2 members raised their hands. Jex, from the Arcturian system, and Mela, from Delvia. "I have studied humans more than most," said Jex. His skin changed colors as he spoke. "They are not like other species. They adapt quickly. They question everything. They might see through our plan." "I agree," said Mela, her voice soft but firm. "Humans can be unpredictable when threatened. This could backfire." Zixtera waved a dismissive hand. "Every species thinks they are special. We have controlled far more advanced civilizations than humans. They will never know what happened." The council then chose Krell to lead the mission to Earth. Krell was their best diplomat, with 30 successful first contacts on his record. "You will take a team of 12, instructed Zixtera. "Present yourselves as friends bringing gifts of technology. Make them trust you. Meanwhile," added Vrel, "we will set up neural dampening stations around their planet. The stations will slowly reduce human aggression and creativity. In 3 generations, they will be peaceful and compliant, like the others." Krell nodded, his gray face showing no emotion. "What technology are we allowed to share?" "Nothing that could help them leave their solar system," said Dorn. "Give them better medicine, cleaner energy, improved farming methods. Enough to make them grateful, not enough to make them dangerous." As the meeting ended, Jex approached Krell privately. "Be careful with humans. They see patterns where others see nothing. They make unlikely connections. They solve problems in ways we cannot predict." Krell smiled. "You worry too much, old friend. Humans are primitive. Their brains are small. Their lives are short. They spend most of their time sleeping, eating, and fighting each other. By the time they realize what's happening, it will be too late." Jex sighed. "I hope you are right." In the ship bay, Krell's team prepared 7 vessels for the journey to Earth. They loaded them with impressive but harmless technology, gifts designed to amaze and distract. "How long until we reach Earth?" asked one of the team members. 3 Earth weeks," replied Krell. "We will send signals ahead, learning their languages and customs. When we arrive, we will appear as the answer to their dreams." The ships departed, sleek and silent, crossing the vast distance to the small blue planet. The Galactic Council had decided. Humanity would be controlled. What they didn't know was that humans were about to show up, really show up, for the first time on the galactic stage. Lieutenant Frank Miller yawned as he watched the radar screens at the Naval Observatory. Midnight shift was always boring. He sipped his coffee and tapped his pen against the desk. Just 4 more hours until his replacement arrived. The computer beeped suddenly. Frank sat up straight. A strange energy pattern appeared on his screen, moving toward Earth. He checked all the systems. This wasn't a satellite or space junk. It wasn't anything humans had built. "Sir, I think you should see this," Frank called to his supervisor. Within an hour, observatories around the world reported the same thing. 7 objects were approaching Earth, moving faster than anything humans had ever built. The objects slowed down as they reached the moon's orbit. News spread quickly. Some people panicked. Others celebrated. World leaders met in emergency sessions. Military bases went on high alert. In Washington, D.C., President Susan Hayes called a meeting in a room deep under the White House. "What do we know about these visitors?" she asked. General Clark pointed to a screen showing 7 sleek ships. They're arranged in a perfect V formation. That suggests intelligence and organization. They've made no aggressive moves. They're broadcasting signals on multiple frequencies, added Dr. Olivia Grant, adjusting her glasses. "I think they're learning our languages." President Hayes looked around the room. "I need a team to meet these visitors, people who represent the best of humanity." She pointed at Lieutenant Miller. "You found them first. You're on the team." Frank swallowed hard. He was just a radar operator. He never expected to meet aliens. "Dr. Grant, you're our best language expert. You'll lead communication efforts." Olivia nodded, already thinking about possible translation methods. "Alan Powell, you've negotiated peace treaties in 3 war zones. You'll be our diplomat." Alan straightened his tie. "Madam President, it would be my honor." "And Captain Diane Burke for security and tactical assessment." Captain Burke stood tall in her uniform. "I'll protect our team and ensure safe contact, Mom." For the next 3 days, the team prepared. They studied the alien ships from a distance. They practiced possible first contact scenarios. They argued about the best approach. "We should show strength," said Captain Burke. "Let them know we can defend ourselves." "No, we should show friendship," argued Alan. "If they wanted to attack, they would have done it already." Dr. Grant worked day and night, analyzing the signals from the ships. "They're learning our languages incredibly fast. They've already mastered English, Chinese, Russian, and several others." "How is that possible?" asked Frank. "I don't know," admitted Olivia. "Either they have amazing technology, or they've been studying us for a long time." President Hayes chose a remote airfield in Wyoming for the meeting. It was far from major cities, but had a runway big enough for the alien ships. Military units surrounded the area, staying out of sight to avoid appearing threatening. On the 4th day, the ships entered Earth's atmosphere. They moved silently, without the roar of engines or heat of friction. They landed in a perfect line on the runway. Frank felt his heart pounding as he stood with the team. What would these beings look like? What did they want? The largest ship opened. A ramp extended to the ground. Light glowed from inside. A tall figure appeared in the doorway. It had gray skin, 4 arms, and a large head with 3 blinking eyes. It wore a shimmering robe covered with strange symbols. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English, "I am Krell, representative of the Galactic Council. We come in peace and friendship to welcome you to the galactic community." The first contact team looked at each other. This was the moment that would change human history forever. What they didn't know was that it was also the beginning of the most dangerous deception humanity had ever faced. The meeting room was large and bright, with windows looking out over the Wyoming mountains. On one side sat the human team. On the other side sat Krell and 3 other aliens. "We have watched your planet for many years," said Krell. His voice was smooth and calm. "Earth has great potential. The Galactic Council wishes to help you join our community of worlds." Alan Powell smiled politely but said nothing. After 30 years in diplomacy, he knew when someone wasn't telling the whole truth. Something about Krell's words felt rehearsed. "What exactly does the Council offer?" asked President Hayes. Krell waved one of his 4 hands. Another alien placed a small box on the table. It opened to reveal a glowing blue crystal. "This contains medical knowledge that will cure many of your diseases," said Krell. "Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, all can be eliminated within 5 years using this information." The humans looked at each other. If true, this would save millions of lives. "We also offer clean energy technology," continued Krell. A second box appeared, containing a green metal cube. "This will help you produce electricity without pollution, and farming methods that will double your food production." "This is very generous," said Alan carefully. "What does the council want in return?" Krell blinked his 3 eyes slowly. "Very little. Mining rights in certain unpopulated areas, regular visits to observe your culture, and agreement to some basic rules that all developing species follow." "What kind of rules?" asked Captain Burke sharply. "Nothing burdensome," replied Krell. "Limits on expansion to certain star systems, regulations on weapons development, standard procedures for species at your stage." The negotiations continued for 3 weeks. Every day, Krell presented new technologies and more details about the rules humans would need to follow. The human team examined each offer carefully. Dr. Grant spent hours studying the alien language and technology. One night, as she reviewed recordings of the meetings, she noticed something strange. The translation devices sometimes activated a fraction of a second before the alien spoke. "That's not possible," she whispered to herself, "unless they already know what they're going to say before they say it." Frank Miller made his own discovery. Using Earth's satellites, he tracked the movements of the alien ships that remained in orbit. They positioned themselves over specific locations around the planet, then moved to new positions every few days. "They claim they're studying our oceans and atmosphere," Frank told Captain Burke. "But the pattern doesn't make sense for environmental research." Captain Burke nodded. "I've noticed their security team checking their equipment at exactly the same times each day. It's too precise, too scheduled. They're hiding something." She took satellite images to President Hayes, showing strange structures being built at night in remote locations. "Whatever they're building, they don't want us to see it," said Burke. "I recommend we investigate immediately." President Hayes looked troubled. "Do it quietly. If they're truly here to help us, I don't want to damage relations. But if they're lying..." Alan Powell had his own concerns. During a dinner with Krell, he mentioned Earth's history of colonization. Many times, powerful nations offered help to less developed countries, only to take control of their resources and people, said Alan. Krell's reaction was small but telling. A slight twitch of his eye stalks, a momentary stiffness in his posture. "The Council would never do such a thing," Krell said quickly. "We respect all species' right to develop naturally." Later that night, Alan met secretly with the human team. "They're hiding something big," he said. The way Krell reacted when I mentioned colonization, he recognized what I was implying. "But what could they possibly want from Earth?" asked Frank. "They have technology beyond our dreams." Dr. Grant looked serious. "Maybe it's not what they want from us. Maybe it's what they want to prevent us from becoming." None of them realized how close they were to discovering the truth, or how dangerous that truth would be. Joe Martins lived alone in a small cabin near the mountains of Montana. At 62 years old, he had retired from his job as an electronics engineer 5 years ago. He spent his days fixing old radios and building strange machines that probably did nothing useful. His neighbors thought he was a bit crazy. Joe didn't care. He liked being alone with his inventions. One night, Joe noticed something odd. His radio picked up weird signals, like nothing he had ever heard before. They came from the direction of Eagle Cave, about 3 miles from his cabin. "That's not normal," he muttered to himself. The next morning, Joe grabbed his backpack and filled it with tools, water, and sandwiches. He put on his hiking boots and set out toward Eagle Cave. The cave entrance was small, hidden behind rocks and trees. Joe had explored it many times over the years. But today, something was different. A faint blue light glowed from deep inside. Joe moved carefully through the narrow passages. The strange signals grew stronger on his handheld detector. After 20 minutes of walking, he reached a part of the cave he had never seen before. And there it was, a machine unlike anything on Earth. It was about the size of a car, shaped like a smooth egg, with no visible buttons or controls. It glowed with soft blue light and made a low humming sound. "What in the world?" Joe whispered. He took pictures with his old cell phone, careful not to touch the machine. Then he hurried home and posted the pictures on an online forum for radio hobbyists. "Found strange device in cave near my home," he wrote, "giving off unusual signals. Any ideas what this could be?" Most people thought it was a joke, but one person took it seriously. Lisa Chen, who worked for Captain Burke. Her job was to watch websites where people might accidentally discover alien activity. 2 days later, a knock came at Joe's door. He opened it to find a young woman in a plain black jacket. "Mr. Martinez, I'm Lisa Chen. May I come in?" Joe let her in cautiously. Lisa showed him government ID and explained that she was interested in his discovery. "That thing in the cave, it's not from Earth, is it?" Joe asked. Lisa looked surprised. "Why do you think that?" "The way it's built. No seams, no screws. And the signals it sends out, they don't match any normal radio patterns." Lisa nodded slowly. "You're right. It's alien technology. There are 13 of these devices around the world. We don't know what they do yet." "I think I might," said Joe. He showed Lisa his workshop, filled with electronic equipment. "After I found that thing, I built this." He pointed to a strange-looking device with wires sticking out in all directions. "What is it?" asked Lisa. "It detects brain waves. I've been studying brain patterns for years as a hobby. That machine in the cave is sending out signals that match human brain wave patterns, but slightly changed, like it's trying to influence how people think." Lisa's eyes widened. "Can you prove this?" Joe nodded. "When I turn this on," he said, pointing to a shield-like device, "the signals can't get through. When I turn it off, they can." Lisa made a quick phone call. Within hours, a helicopter landed near Joe's cabin. Captain Burke stepped out and introduced herself. "Mr. Martinez, we need your help," she said. "You've discovered something important that our best scientists missed completely." 3 days later, Joe found himself in a secret underground lab in Washington, D.C. Scientists and military personnel crowded around him as he explained his homemade devices. "The aliens never expected someone like me to find their machine," Joe said. "They thought it was too well hidden, or that humans wouldn't recognize what it does." Dr. Grant joined them, looking worried. "I've been analyzing all the data. These devices are neural dampening stations. They're designed to slowly change human brain chemistry, making us less aggressive, less creative, and easier to control." Captain Burke's face hardened. "So the Council's friendship is actually an invasion. They're not here to help us join the galactic community. They're here to make sure we never truly do," finished Frank Miller. President Hayes sat at the head of a long table in a room deep below the White House. The walls were thick concrete. No signals could get in or out. 20 people sat around the table: military leaders, scientists, and the first contact team. "So the aliens want to control our minds," said the president. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed anger. "The question is, what do we do about it?" Captain Burke stood up. "We should confront them directly. Show them we know what they're doing." Alan Powell shook his head. "That would be dangerous. They have ships in orbit with unknown weapons. We need to be smarter than that." "I agree," said Frank Miller. "We should pretend we don't know anything. Buy time while we figure out how to stop them." President Hayes nodded. "Mr. Martinez, can your blocking device be made bigger? Big enough to protect entire cities?" Joe scratched his beard. "Maybe. The science is simple. It's just a matter of power and size." "Then that's our first step," said the president. "We'll call it Project Trojan Horse. On the outside, we keep talking with the aliens. On the inside, we prepare to fight back. The group split into teams. Captain Burke led military planning. Dr. Grant continued studying alien language and technology. Engineers worked with Joe to build larger blocking devices. Frank Miller set up a network of amateur sky watchers to track alien movements. In a lab beneath the Pentagon, Joe worked with a team of scientists. They built a new version of his blocking device, 10 times more powerful. The aliens use a specific frequency to target human brains. Joe explained to Dr. Grant, if we change the frequency slightly, we might be able to affect their brains instead. Dr. Grant's eyes widened. You mean, turn their own technology against them? Joe nodded. Exactly. Meanwhile, Alan Powell kept meeting with Krell. He pretended to consider the alien offers while asking for more time to consult with world leaders. Humans have many countries and opinions, Alan explained to Krell. We need time to reach agreement. Krell seemed annoyed but agreed to wait. The council is patient, he said, but not forever. After 4 weeks of secret work, Joe's team had a breakthrough. They tested their new device on a captured alien communication unit. It works, Joe shouted. We can not only block their signals but redirect them. President Hayes called an emergency meeting. How soon can we act against all 13 stations? We have teams ready near each location, said Captain Burke. They can move within 24 hours. And the aliens won't expect it, added Frank. They think we're too primitive to detect their technology. What about their ships in orbit? Asked the president. Dr. Grant smiled. I've been working on that. I found a way into their communication system. We can send a message directly to the Galactic Council, showing them what Krell has been doing. But will the Council care? Asked Alan. They approved this plan. Maybe not all of them, said Dr. Grant. Remember, 2 members voted against it. There might be laws even they have to follow. President Hayes looked around the room. This is humanity's moment. We have one chance to show the galaxy who we really are. She turned to Captain Burke. Prepare your teams. We move tomorrow night. As everyone left to prepare, Joe stayed behind with Frank and Dr. Grant. Do you think we can really beat them? Asked Frank. They have technology thousands of years ahead of ours. Joe smiled. Technology isn't everything. These aliens made one big mistake. They underestimated human creativity. They thought we would be easy to control because we're young and chaotic. But our chaos is our strength. We think differently. We solve problems in ways they never imagine. Dr. Grant nodded. And now they'll learn what happens when humans really show up. The night was dark and cloudy as 13 teams moved into position around the world. Each team carried versions of Joe's device, now called reflectors. They communicated using old-style radio that the aliens couldn't easily monitor. In Montana, Joe led the team back to Eagle Cave. 6 soldiers moved silently through the trees, carrying heavy equipment. In the Amazon rainforest, another team paddled up a river in small boats. Near Mount Fuji in Japan, climbers pretended to be tourists as they approached their target. Similar scenes played out in Russia, Australia, Egypt, and other locations. At the White House, President Hayes watched a large screen showing all 13 operations. Captain Burke stood beside her, giving quiet orders through a secure line. All teams in position, reported Burke. Awaiting your command. The president nodded. Begin Operation Trojan Horse. At that same moment, Alan Powell sat across from Krell in the negotiation room. 3 other aliens were present, along with Dr. Grant and Frank Miller. We have considered your offer, said Alan calmly, but we need clarification on some points. Krell seemed impatient. We have answered all your questions many times, Mr. Powell. The Council requires your answer soon. Around the world, human teams reached the alien devices. Following Joe's instructions, they didn't try to destroy them. Instead, they attached the reflectors to specific points on each machine. In Eagle Cave, Joe carefully connected wires to the smooth alien device. Reflector in place, he whispered into his radio. Activating now. One by one, the teams reported success. When all 13 reflectors were active, Captain Burke gave the signal. Activate Phase 2, she ordered. Joe pressed a button on his control pad. The reflector hummed loudly. The alien device changed color, from blue to red. In the negotiation room, something strange happened. Krell suddenly stopped talking mid-sentence. His 3 eyes blinked rapidly. The other aliens swayed in their chairs. "Are you feeling well, Ambassador Krell?" asked Alan, his face showing fake concern. Krell tried to stand but seemed dizzy. What is happening?" he stammered. Alan smiled. "I believe you're experiencing a neural dampening field, similar to the one you plan to use on us." Krell's eyes widened in shock. You know." "We know everything," said Dr. Grant. "The 13 stations, the plan to make humans docile over generations, the Council's real intentions." Krell's shock turned to anger. "Impossible. Your species is too primitive to detect our technology." "That was your first mistake," said Frank. "Thinking we're primitive just because we're young." Krell reached for a device on his wrist. "This meeting is over. My ships will." But before he could finish, Alan slid a folder across the table. "These are images of all 13 of your neural stations. We haven't destroyed them. We've modified them." Dr. Grant explained. "They now affect your species' brain patterns, not ours. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make you confused and unable to take military action." Krell's hands shook with rage. "You will regret this. The Council will." "The Council will what?" interrupted Alan. "Send more ships. Destroy Earth. That would violate their own laws about aggression against developing species, wouldn't it?" For the first time, Krell looked uncertain. Alan continued. "In fact, we've sent a complete record of your actions to the Council, including evidence that you plan to violate Protocol 37B by going beyond observation to direct neural manipulation without consent." Krell stood suddenly and shouted to the other aliens, "Take them prisoner. Call the ships to attack." The security aliens moved forward, drawing strange weapons, but they moved slowly, confused by the neural field. Captain Burke and her security team were faster. They had been prepared and wore Joe's blocking devices. Within seconds, they disarmed the aliens. On the screens around the room, they could see the alien ships in orbit moving erratically, their crews affected by the same confusion. "Your plan has failed, Ambassador Krell," said President Hayes, entering the room. "Now let's discuss what happens next, as equals." Krell stared at the humans in disbelief. The Council had been so certain that controlling humanity would be simple. They had been wrong. Light years away, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, a message arrived during a routine meeting. The message played automatically on the main screen, bypassing normal security protocols. The 17 council members watched in shock as images appeared showing Krell's secret operations on Earth. They saw the neural dampening stations. They heard recordings of Krell admitting the plan to make humans docile through brain manipulation. "This is outrageous," shouted one council member, a being made of what looked like blue crystal. "Neural manipulation without consent is forbidden except for the most dangerous species." "Krell has violated our most basic laws," agreed another, whose body resembled a giant plant. Council leader Zix Terra raised a hand for silence. "We approved Protocol 37B for Earth," he reminded them. Krell was following our orders. "We approved observation and limited control," said Jex, the Arcturian who had voted against the plan. "Not direct neural manipulation. That requires special permission, which was never granted." The Council erupted into argument. Some supported Krell's actions. Others condemned them. Some blamed Zixterra for allowing such extreme measures. "The humans have surprised us," said Mela, the Delvian representative. "They detected technology we thought was beyond their understanding. They turned it against Krell without destroying it. They showed restraint. They are still primitive and dangerous, argued Vrel. This clever trick changes nothing. Jex stood up, his skin changing to bright green. I propose an emergency resolution. We must immediately stop all operations against Earth and establish a truth commission to investigate what happened. The council voted. After tense moments, the resolution passed by one vote. A new delegation will go to Earth, announced Zixterra reluctantly. They will negotiate honestly this time. Back on Earth, humans held Krill and his team under guard. The alien ships in orbit made no aggressive moves, their crews too confused to take action. 3 days after Operation Trojan Horse began, new alien ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They broadcast a message on all frequencies. "People of Earth, we are representatives of the Galactic Council," said a new voice. "We wish to apologize for the deception practiced by Ambassador Krell. We request permission to land and discuss peace." President Hayes consulted with her advisors. "It could be another trick," warned Captain Burke. "I don't think so," said Dr. Grant. "I'm detecting completely different signal patterns from these ships, and they're asking permission, not demanding it." "Let them land," decided the president, "but keep the reflectors active, just in case." The new ships landed at the Wyoming airfield. This time, 17 aliens emerged, each one looking completely different from the others. One was tall and thin with color-changing skin. Another looked like a floating cloud of light. A third resembled a walking tree. "I am Jex of Arcturus," said the one with color-changing skin. "These are all members of the Galactic Council. We have come to see for ourselves what happened here." For the next week, the council members met with human leaders. They examined the neural dampening stations. They interviewed Krell, who still insisted he had done nothing wrong. "Humans are too unpredictable to be allowed free development," Krell argued. "Look how they defeated our superior technology. They think in ways we cannot predict." "That is exactly why they deserve freedom to develop in their own way," replied Jex. On the final day of their visit, the council members gathered in the United Nations building in New York. Representatives from every human nation attended. "We have reached a decision," announced Jex. "The operation against Earth was unauthorized and illegal under council law. All restrictions on human development are hereby lifted." The room filled with applause from the human delegates. "Furthermore," continued Jex, "we invite Earth to send its own representative to join the Galactic Council." Silence fell as everyone realized what this meant. Humans would not just be free. They would have a voice in galactic affairs. The Council had planned to control humanity. Instead, humans had earned their respect. 6 months passed quickly. Earth changed in ways no one could have imagined. Alien technology, now shared freely, helped solve many human problems. Clean energy replaced polluting fuels. New medicines cured diseases that had seemed hopeless. Food grew in places that had been barren. But the biggest change was in space. With help from friendly council species, humans built their first true starship. They called it the EFS Defiance. EFS stood for Earth Fleet Ship. On launch day, thousands gathered to watch. Frank Miller, now Admiral Miller, stood proudly on the ship's bridge. He had been chosen to command this historic mission. "Hard to believe it's only been 6 months," said Dr. Grant, who stood beside him. "She would lead the science team on the voyage." Frank nodded. "Even harder to believe they wanted to control us like pets." The crew of Defiance included humans and aliens working together. Arcturians managed the advanced navigation systems. Delvians worked in the medical bay. Humans handled everything else, learning quickly from their new allies. In Washington, D.C., Alan Powell prepared for a different journey. President Hayes had appointed him as Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council. "Are you nervous?" asked Captain Burke, now his chief of security. Alan smiled. "Of course. I'll be speaking for all humanity. But I'm ready." Captain Burke had assembled a security team trained to protect Alan in any environment. They had learned about alien weapons, customs, and potential threats. Nothing would be left to chance. Meanwhile, Joe Martinez had become famous. People called him the man who saved Earth. He hated the attention and tried to avoid reporters. Instead, he focused on working with a team of human and alien scientists. Together, they studied how different species thought and solved problems. Humans think in random patterns, Joe explained to his alien colleagues. We jump between ideas in ways that seem chaotic to you, but that chaos leads to creative solutions. The aliens found this fascinating. For thousands of years, the Council had valued order and predictable progress. Human unpredictability had seemed dangerous. Now they saw it differently, as a valuable new way of thinking. On the day Admiral Miller prepared to launch the Defiance, a ceremony took place at the United Nations. Representatives from Earth and the Council signed a new amendment to the Galactic Charter. It read, "No species shall attempt to control the natural development of another through deception or manipulation." Everyone called it the Human Clause. After the ceremony, Jex spoke privately with President Hayes. "I must confess something," said the Arcturian. "When I voted against controlling Earth, I didn't truly believe humans would detect our technology. I simply felt it was wrong." President Hayes smiled. "And I must confess that finding your neural stations was mostly luck. If Joe Martinez hadn't been in the right place with the right skills, we might never have known." Jex's skin rippled with color. An Arcturian laugh. "Perhaps the universe has its own wisdom. By trying to prevent humans from joining galactic society, we pushed you to prove why you belong." In orbit above Earth, the Defiance prepared for its first jump to faster-than-light speed. Admiral Miller gave the command, and the stars blurred around them as the ship leaped into the unknown. On the Galactic Council homeworld, Alan Powell took his seat at the great circular table. 17 seats had become 18. And in a small cabin in Montana, Joe Martinez continued his work. On his wall hung a simple plaque with words that had become famous throughout human space. They decided to control humanity. Then humans showed up. The Council had expected to find primitive beings they could easily manage. Instead, they found equals who would change the galaxy forever. Human creativity, adaptability, and determination, qualities the Council had feared, were now recognized as precious resources in a universe that needed new ways of thinking. Humanity had not just shown up, they had arrived.